Hello, mixtresses and mixters. This is Mixtress Ray. You're watching Mixtress Video. Today I'm doing something that I don't know will be interesting at all. I have, let's just show you, shall we? I have a stack of, this is everything from my, what I call my mystical bookshelf, which includes some books that wouldn't necessarily be traditionally in the mystical category, but it's just like everything that I consider valuable to my spiritual practice, which I put in quotes just because I don't know how spiritual my practice is. So I'm just going to give you, I've been kind of obsessing about books lately and like going through all of my books and deciding where there are holes in my collection and things like that. So I just thought I would show off this is everything from my mystical bookshelf, and I'm really hoping that neither of these piles topples over in the process. So here we go. I'm going to start with, I have two shelves on my mystical bookshelf. The top shelf is all of my tarot books, and then the bottom shelf is everything else. So I have like mythology and like plant books and witchcraft books and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to show you what I have because I've just been kind of nerding out over books lately. So this is the Good Witch's Guide, modern day Wikipedia. See what they did there? Of magical ingredients and spells by Sean Robbins and Charity Bedell. This might be like the longest video ever too. This book is gorgeous. And that is most of the reason that I have it. It has a lot of information in it, but it's not, and this is going to kind of be a book critique too. It's not super, it does have an index, which is, I have a lot of rules for the books that I own. Very specific. I do, so like, you know, if you are, for example, looking for malachite, you can see exactly what pages you will find malachite on. But the actual organization of the book is not super great. It's not super easy to find things, and it's not super informative, and it seems like things are on multiple pages. I don't know. The organization of this book isn't the best, is what I'm saying. But it does have a lot of information in it, and it's very aesthetically pleasing, this book. So this is just like one of those things that like, it's so pretty. It's actually pretty compact as well. It looks gorgeous on the shelf. This is one that I feel kind of weird about because I normally don't keep books that I just think are pretty, but I actually don't refer to this book that often, but I do think it's pretty. So that's the Good Witch's Guide. Next is another pretty book, but this is slightly more useful pretty book in my opinion. Wicked Plants. This is, look at this. This is an old book plate that I like took off of something else that I was getting rid of and put on this. When I was a kid, I had these little stickers that I put in all my books. So this is just, it's more of like a historical plant book, so you can find out, and it's got these gorgeous illustrations in it. This one has, just looking, does it have an index? No, but it does have, I guess it's in alphabetical order. The table of contents is in alphabetical order. So this is more just like sort of a historical compendium of like poisonous plants and stuff, which is kind of cool. This one, I could see how maybe Linda Goodman could be considered to be sort of controversial now, especially with how rigid she seemed to view gender. But this is Linda Goodman's Sun Signs, and I keep this mostly for sentimental value because I bought it for myself in the 90s. trying to see, like, originally published in 1968, but I think this was new when I got it in the 90s, and I've underlined it and most everything that I know about astrology I got from reading this book multiple times as a teenager. I need to be careful not to show, like, I listed on some of the, like, title pages. So it goes through, I need to be careful not to show. Hold on, I'm gonna get to the first part of this chapter without showing, because it has people's names in it, because I listed, like, every Virgo I knew, and I don't want to put other people's names in it. So, like, this is, like, just so you can get an idea of the format of this book. How to recognize Virgo. So there's a chapter on each sign. And then you've got famous Virgo personalities at the end of that part of the chapter. The Virgo man. The Virgo woman. The Virgo child. And these are, like, you know, again, this book I would probably find to be problematic if I read it now, but I do keep it just as a sentimental, because I've literally had this book since I was in my early teens. I remember I bought this book for a friend that was super into astrology, and then I just started reading it, and then I didn't end up giving it to that friend. So there's some guilt associated with my owning of that book, just because I never gave it away. But that particular person wouldn't still have that book now, and I do. So there you go. So I'm kind of in my astrology section of books right now. This is another astrology book I have, and it does have a lot of good information in it, but I think it's more style than substance. But it does talk a lot about the different houses and planets and all that kind of stuff. It had a typo in, I wrote my own, my sun is in Libra. I wrote my own astrology all over this book. It has like here we go, here's signs. It has a typo in it. They may have fixed it if they've had, like, future editions, but they originally listed Libra as mutable, but it's cardinal. These are all my planets that I have in Libra, guys. If you know what those symbols mean. That's how many planets I have in Libra. 6. 6. I just painted my nails and I keep bumping into things and messing them up. That's what I do. And then I have, this is a newer acquisition. I haven't actually read this book fully yet, or really gotten into it. Astrology for Real Relationships. I follow Jessica Lanyadoo's. I subscribe to her newsletter and I have listened to her podcast. I'm not, like, I don't listen to her podcast all the time, but this one is kind of what that Star Power book is, but it's more thorough. So, like, you can go to the Mars chapter, and if you know that your Mars is in whatever, Mercury, you can actually find Mars and Mercury. What? Mars, if you know that your Mars is in Virgo, you can actually find, whereas in the Star Power book, there were, like, a couple of examples, like if your Mars were in Sagittarius, it would be like this or whatever. But in this one, it actually has information on every single permutation. So you can look up kind of a meaning for what, you can look up, you know, everything for yourself. My sun is in Scorpio. My moon is in Aries. You know, you can find the information in all these categories. And I feel like the title is slightly misleading, though, because, I mean, it's also for real relationships with yourself. You know, it doesn't have to be about, I mean, it says it in the subtitle, I guess. Understanding you, me, and how we all get along. So that one's pretty useful, I assume. I don't actually own it yet. Or haven't actually read it yet. This next one is also a recent acquisition because one of my mom's friends was getting rid of this. So this is that same author as Linda Goodman's Sun Signs, but this is volume 1 and 2 of Linda Goodman's Love Signs. So I haven't really gotten into this yet, but it's similarly formatted. I don't even know if I necessarily will read these books. It's just kind of fun to have them because of my sentimental relationship to Linda Goodman as an astrologer, even though she would probably be. But this one has like specific relationships in it. So you can, and it's very heteronormative, obviously. Maybe not obviously, but it is. So if you're looking at the Taurus-Gemini relationship, you get like an introduction to how Gemini and Taurus generally react or interact. And then you get Taurus woman, Gemini man section. And then you'll get a Taurus man, Gemini woman section. And that's it. You don't get it, like I said, very heteronormative, kind of problematic. But this was given to me by a family friend that I've known since I was born. And so for now I am keeping these, but I don't know if I will keep them forever. I'm kind of interested to know, just because I don't have a lot of like vintage books in my collection, but I'm just interested to know the copyright. 1978. Doesn't really like give you some of the like information that you're used to seeing on how you like find what edition it is and stuff like that. It doesn't actually have all of that. It doesn't seem. So I wouldn't necessarily like recommend any of Linda Goodman's books, even though I have 3 of them. Okay, so that's my astrology section. This one's pretty sentimental to me. The Book of Tao. So it's basically the Tao Te Ching. And this is given to me by my art teacher in like the year 2000, 2001, right around when I was graduating high school. And he had it, that's his name there, he had it since 1963. And it's been through a lot before I had it, and then it went through a tornado, so it went through even more. To look for like publishing information. Just says copyright 1962, that's all. So he got it new. And then for whatever reason, he decided to give it to me. I'm not sure why. I don't think we had ever had a discussion about Taoism, but we had like a special relationship, kind of like, he was part of the reason why I actually made it through high school, because he let me like be in his class like several years in a row. Like I ended up doing like independent study once I had already taken all of his classes, and like being in art classes in general is what got me through high school. And this was just like a really special thing. So I have read it, but I'm not like super versed in Taoism or anything like that. And this is just one of those things that I will always keep and hold dear. This one is the only Buddhist text I have. I would like Heart of Buddha's Teaching by Thich Nhat Hanh. I would like to, I've read it a couple, 2 or 3 times. Why not? I think you could. That's my handwriting. You cannot meditate without practicing the precepts. There you go. Why not? I think you could. The kinds of things that you'll get in footnotes from a book that I wrote. Interesting. I don't know what that means. But yeah, I'd like to actually have more Buddhist texts than just this. This one's not... I would love to have a Buddhist text that's kind of like conversational. Like one of my favorite Buddhist books, which I have not reread in a long time, so I don't know if it holds up, but Hardcore Zen. I don't remember the author of that book, but Hardcore Zen was one of my favorite Buddhist books back in the day, and this is one that I've also revisited several times. I bought it in 2012. I used to, like, I've stopped doing this, but I need to start doing it again. I used to always put a heart in the top right corner of the first page and the year that I acquired it. So I need to start doing that again. So actually, while we're here, I could start doing that with some of these for the books that I know when I acquired them. This one is a crystal book. So now we're getting into like some of these books are like in no particular order. Most of these books are in no particular order. This is just like a like, you know, Barnes and Noble find, and I like it because it's the rocks and crystals are all organized in like little color tabs. So if you know, like, you want to know what a stone is and you know that it's green, you can go through the whole green tab and see if you see it. I like that, and it's handheld, which I have another crystal book that does that same thing, that same organization, but it's not easy to tote around. So I just like having this. It's not really a mystical book, but it does give you healing effects and personal uses. So it does kind of give you like a little mystical element, and it was very affordable, probably cost $5 to $10 at Barnes and Noble. So it's a good one. It's a good one. This one's actually, it's a companion book to an oracle deck that I don't have. I found this at a like Friends of the Library bookstore, at a library that was, I can't even remember where it was, like somewhere in Arkansas or something. We were on vacation and I went and I bought this, and it's, someday I might like get the oracle deck. It's basically an animal medicine type oracle deck. And so I like to use it as just like a, if otter is my animal spirit of the month or whatever, then I can look it up in this book and get like a little bit more shamanic type information. So I don't know what it's called, like animal spirit medicine cards or something. But I have seen it like on eBay. It's affordable to find this deck. I just don't have it. So this is the 5th edition, or the 5th printing, 1999. So I just thought this was cool. I, probably paid like $2 for this book, and it's just a nice hardcover book on like shamanic animal spirit energy, and so I refer to it sometimes. I like to have a lot of like reference type books. Like, I don't own a lot of books, but I like having books that I can just like look things up in real quick. This is another, I think the same one of my mom's friends that gave me those Linda Goodman's Love Signs books gave me this, perhaps, I'm not sure. But it's just The Complete Fairy Tales of the Brothers Grimm. I don't think I've ever, like, all this damage happened before I owned this book. I don't think I've ever referred to this book, but I like to have it as sort of a fairy tale reference. Like if I wanted to study the original Brothers Grimm version of some fairy tale, I'd want to have a resource to easily look it up. So that's why I keep this, even though I've never referred to it, and I've had it for 5+ years probably. I also really love mythology books. I love being able to look up goddesses whenever I want, so I have several mythology books. This is one of my favorites, Encyclopedia of Eastern Mythology, because for the most part, the pantheons that I'm interested in are Hindu and Egyptian. That's pretty much like, I do like a little bit of like, I like all mythology pantheons, but like the ones that I personally care the most about are all Eastern religions. So this has like pretty historical kind of encyclopedia, so you can, let's look up our girl Kali, see how much information we have on her in here. It's not much, like, and the text is pretty small, because I wanted one that was like easy to hold, because I have small hands, so I like smaller books. So this one, did I write when I got it? No, but I got it like last year or the year before. So this is a relatively new acquisition, and not something that I read cover to cover. I don't read this kind of stuff cover to cover, encyclopedias. I just like to have, like I said, I like to have these kinds of things on hand. This one also a recent acquisition. Got this probably last year. Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs by Scott Cunningham. So this is like a very traditional Wicca approach to herbs. So you can find hydrangea, the folk name, the powers, and the magical uses. But a lot of them have more, it's more like magical correspondences, which is probably what it says on the front, right? Okay, it doesn't say magical correspondences, but it's more like magical correspondences of different plants. So I like to have that easy guide. I'm not even like really, I'm not an herb witch really, but I'm starting to kind of grow my plant and herb magical collection. And I like to easily, like I said, I like to easily be able to look things up. So I can go, ooh, wolfsbane. What's that about? Its associated deity is Hecate. Cool. Powers are protection. So when I make my own little like mason jars full of herbs I've collected, I can use this as a jumping off point to like, what kind of intentions do I want to set for this particular herb, you know? This is kind of a funny one. Probably most witches do not have this in their collection, but The Complete Idiot's Guide to Wicca and Witchcraft. I first checked this out from my local library. Bought this in 2015, and that's when I really got back into witchcraft again. I really like this book, actually. I really like Complete Idiot's Guides in general, because they are very thorough. They give you like information on a lot of different aspects of whatever it is that it's just they're great overviews. I really like Complete Idiot's Guides in general. So this was, I actually took it with me in the tub once. I was reading it in the tub, and that's why it has all these like water damage problems. But this is still, it's actually a good reference. I don't have a lot of witchcraft books. So that's one of the things I have holes in. I would like to have more witchcraft books, but this gives a really, really great overview to witchcraft, and I like it. So next is also pretty recent acquisition. I think I got it used, but I think I got it within the last year or so. Moon Magic, Myth, Magic, Crafts and Recipes, Rituals and Spells. So this one's organized by month. So you get, like I always have the marker in. December is always the cold moon, and then you get lots of information in each chapter on how witches have traditionally celebrated that particular moon, what correspondences, lore. There's lots of like recipes and like rituals and stuff, and lots of like goddess energy, lots of like, what goddesses could you work with this month? And then it kind of tells you a little bit about the different goddesses, and it's very useful for moon magic. Imagine that. So I still haven't like even had it a year, but I basically just read the chapter for each full moon, and I use this as kind of like a jumping off point for my full moon readings that I do on my Patreon. So I'll just like read through that chapter of that particular month to decide kind of how I want to approach my reading and stuff sometimes, not always, but yeah, that's a good one for planning like rituals and stuff. This one is not meant to be a magical book. It's one of those ones. The Magic and Medicine of Plants, Reader's Digest. This one is just really cool. When was this made? I actually have 2 copies of this book because my first copy was missing a lot of, like, people had just like torn pages out of it. So I bought a second copy, and this is the one that if you've ever seen my Magic and Medicine of Plants, my handmade oracle, it's made from this book. It doesn't have a lot of like copyright information. Okay, here we go. 1986. Third printing, 1989 is what this one is. But it's just Like, it's just an encyclopedia of plants, essentially, and how they've been used over time. It's more of like a historical view of that particular herb. It's not meant to be, I mean, it's called The Magic and Medicine of Plants, but it's not really meant to be used for like witches, but I think it definitely can be. And I love the illustrations. So that's what I've used for my Magic and Medicine of Plants Oracle deck. My other copy of this book, I just literally cut out an herb and then I use the information of that herb to decide what I want the keywords and stuff on the oracle card to be, which is still a work in progress. And I don't know if I'll ever like make it available for other people to buy, but if you're interested, I actually have it right here. I can kind of show you my little Magic and Medicine of Plants Oracle deck. Basically, it's just very handmade. I just used my typewriter for the titles, and I used like an old tarot deck that I didn't use for the backings, and yeah, very, very homemade. But I like it. I actually should use it more, but I really like it. Someday I will finish this deck. I have planned to make several more. Did not wait long enough for my nails to dry, you guys. Like, everything I'm doing in this video is messing them up. God. Okay. So that's the Magic and Medicine of Plants. Spent a little too long on that one, but it's an important book to me because I think it's so beautiful and it's such a great resource. It even gives you like really sciencey stuff, you know, habitat, range, identification, uses. I just love it. I just think it's cool. I just think it's cool. God, my nails are so messed up. Oh, and I was proud of this color combination, but look how much I've messed them up. Okay, I need to stop thinking about that. Like, I chose to paint my nails and then immediately start handling books. That's my problem. Okay, this is my sort of gigantic encyclopedia of crystals, but it also organizes them by color, which I like. So you get the crystal system, the chemistry, the hardness, the source, chakra, zodiac sign. So this one has like a little bit more magical correspondences than the other crystal book that I have that I showed you. But this one's just, you know, more difficult to wield. And I've put some other stuff in here too that I've gotten from other sources. So, yeah, I like having a couple of crystal resources, so this one's a good one to have too. I said I was going to start labeling books, but you know what? I'm not going to. This one I just got. This is kind of the inspiration for me doing this video. I just got this book this week. This is like a first printing of Brian Froud's Fairies. Look at this. Look at it. It's so beautiful. And it's in really great condition. It's 1978. I think probably what I had whenever I was growing up was Good Fairies, Bad Fairies by Brian Froud. I don't think it was this particular fairy book. But this is Lananshi. Lananshi was my username for most things on the internet in the beginning, and I still use it for some websites. I love it. Brian Froud is why I knew what Lananshi was. And I have Brian Froud's fairy oracle. And it was just, this one showed up at my local library that I work in. Someone had donated it and it was on our for sale shelf. And we sell hardback books at our library for $1. So I got this first edition of Brian Froud's Fairies book in beautiful condition for $1. I looked it up on eBay just because I was curious. I'm not going to sell it. I definitely want to have it. And I want to read it, and I'm excited. But I looked it up just because I was curious, and it's like listed on eBay for like $50. So I'm very happy to have this. It's really pretty, and I think the way that Brian Froud portrays fairies, it feels accurate to me. I don't know. Like, what do I know? But it feels right. I like that he employs lots of different body types with his fairies, lots of different types of fairies. His fairies aren't necessarily beautiful. So he has this whole section in here on different herbs and how fairies interact with different like flowers and herbs and how fairies interact with them and stuff. And so much of it is like handwritten, and it's just, I'm excited to go through and like actually read this book cover to cover for some good fairy information. That's what led me. I was like, I have this gorgeous copy of this fairies book now. I'm gonna do a book tour of my mystical bookshelf. This one is the same author as the Eastern mythology book that I have. This is Indian mythology, and I got this from my local library, also on the sale shelf when they were weeding this particular book, because I guess I didn't check out that much, so they were getting rid of it. So it's basically the same thing, only it's only concentrating on Hindu and Indian mythology. Again, let's see, just for comparison, since we looked at Kali in the other one, how much information does this book have on Kali? It's basically the same. Look at that. So it's a lot of the exact same information in this book as in the other book, but the other book employs more Eastern mythologies than just Indian. And that's like the biggest book on my shelf. Okay, now we're down to everything that's left. These are all my tarot books. So this is like the first tarot book I think I bought. This I bought like probably 3 years ago or so, just the Tarot Bible, and it's a really great like overall view. It's got like all these different tab sections. So there's like section on everyday spreads, relationship spreads, revelation spreads, destiny spreads. There's all this like correspondences stuff in the back, like little overviews of like if you want to have a correspondence with like a color of candle and a candle spell that you could possibly do in conjunction with each of the major arcana cards. It's just got all kinds of really, it's one of those like complete idiot's guides to tarot kind of things, but it's really useful, I think. I don't like the deck that they chose to use to portray. It's an RWS knockoff deck, but I just don't like the art style. But other than that, I mean, and I think some of the interpretations of the cards are slightly unexpected. I was going to say unusual, but like it's deep. It's deeper than you think it will be, the interpretations of the cards. So I really actually like this book a lot. For a while, I thought I was going to get rid of it because I thought it was too basic once I got deeper into tarot, but I actually I refer to this still every once in a while. So, and it's part of my tarot journey, you know what I'm saying? Next, I have a guidebook from a deck that I actually sold in a rummage sale. So I no longer have the deck because I didn't like the deck, but I like the guidebook, and that is the Phantasmagoria by Ian Daniels. This is the companion book that you get when you buy Tarot of Vampires. And as you can see, I've highlighted and made notes in this book. I like how thorough this is. This could be your introduction to tarot book. If you really resonate with Tarot of Vampires, I would say you could start your tarot journey by just, I mean, it's not an RWS style deck. Like, you're not going to get a really thorough understanding of tarot in general from Tarot of Vampires, but you could get a really good understanding of that particular deck. You know, if you only wanted to have one deck, this is a great guidebook that comes with it. And yeah, it's got lots of great information in it. And I think I haven't really read this cover to cover, but I still refer to it sometimes, even though I don't have the deck anymore. This one is an important one for my tarot journey, and I still have not read this one cover to cover either. But I got this from my favorite witchy store, and it's 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack. And it's very much like RWS. It's an explanation of the symbolism, kind of. And I've written in this one a lot, as you can see. And this was just, it was an important part of my tarot journey in the beginning. Like, my tarot journey has been long and winding, but last year when I really dove into it and finally learned tarot more thoroughly than I ever have before, this was instrumental in that process for me, and I really appreciate it. Still have not read it cover to cover yet, though. Like, most of my books I just dip in and out of. This is another one that I'm not sure I'm even going to keep this one forever, but I did appreciate Bakara Wintner's approach to tarot. So this is What the Fuck is Tarot and How Do I Do It? This is a really, like, a short, direct, interesting, intuitive, like, basically Bakara Wintner got a tarot deck. It has the illustrations from her tarot deck that is now out. I forgot what it's called, but she just kind of like picked up a tarot deck one day, really resonated with it, and learned to read mostly intuitively. And this is her personal interpretations to tarot. Like, she's not coming from an esoteric Golden Dawn approach or from a studied approach. You know, she's coming from personal intuition, and it's interesting to see someone that's just kind of like unfettered by what other people think of tarot. Like, she doesn't fucking give a shit what anyone else thinks of tarot. She's made up her own way of viewing it, and that's what works for her. And I find it inspiring in a sense, because it's like, even though I disagree with a lot of her interpretations of the cards, I like that she's just like, you know what, I'm just going to put it out there. And she has all these personal anecdotes. I actually don't like that. I think this book, even though it's short and sweet, I would have preferred it if it didn't have the anecdotes, but I know a lot of other people like them. But yeah, this is one I may not keep forever, but I did really enjoy reading it when I read it. I did read that one cover to cover because I like books that don't get too verbose. I like books that are straightforward and get to the point and don't waste your goddamn time. When it comes to nonfiction. If it's not like a reference book and it's nonfiction, I want it to be short and sweet and get to the fucking point. I feel like a lot of nonfiction books I am very opinionated about books. Someone that's worked in a library for 16 years who would have guessed. But I could talk forever about like what I think a nonfiction book should be. It depends on the type of nonfiction book, of course. Like, I have particular rules about many different kinds of books. If you're going to be a memoir, there better be an introductory chapter on how memory is fallible, and you're telling this story to the best of your abilities as a fallible human being with problems with memory, because we all have that. Because you're going to get super motherfucking detailed about your own life in a memoir. I call bullshit, because no one remembers everything about their lives. No one remembers everything. Every time we recall a memory, we change it a little bit in our minds. Anyway, that's a whole rant that I could go on about I am very picky. When I'm choosing to buy a book, you guys, I will go down the rabbit hole of like, I just bought Alice in Wonderland. I've never owned a physical copy of Alice in Wonderland. I don't have it yet, but I just ordered it online. It hasn't come yet. And I have spent years trying to find a copy that is beautiful, that is exactly fits all of my requirements, since there are so many different options with that particular book. Anyway, I digress. Okay, we only have a few books left. Let's not make it just a view of my cloth while I rant about books, shall we? Next is a pretty recent acquisition too, Ultimate Guide to the Rider-Waite Tarot. This one's really cool because it breaks down every single card and it picks the 10 most important symbols in each card, and it breaks down the visual symbolism in each card in the Rider-Waite Smith. I really appreciate that. Just as a concept. In actual execution, I have not like gone really deep into this book, but the actual execution of it, sometimes I disagree with, like, I feel like it's just one person's interpretations of the symbolism, or two people's, because it was written by, like, I think a husband and wife team, perhaps. But, so I don't know how, like, conceptually I really like the idea of this book, but I don't know exactly how I feel about the execution of it yet, because the few times that I have opened this book up and, like, looked at a particular card's symbolism interpretations, I'm like, okay, but where did you get the idea that it means that? Like, where did you get the idea that these two people are a man and a woman? They could be any interpretation of gender. You know? I feel like they took some license with it. The same thing that I, like, lauded Bakara Wintner for, her own personal interpretations to things, I am like, I'm criticizing this book for doing, because I guess I wanted more of, like, esoteric symbolism interpretation in this book or something. Like, what does this traditionally mean? What does this traditionally mean? Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if I agree with the way that this book was executed, so I may not keep this forever, but it's something that in concept sounds really interesting to me. Here is my Holistic Tarot. I just bought a new copy. I'm showing you like as if you know, because my copy I've had for a couple years. I spilled wine all over the bottom of it, and it was still usable, but I decided, since this is just such a fucking thorough, gorgeous, wonderful, it's got all of this, it's like a scientific, it is the most holistic approach to tarot. Like, every possible correspondence, it's a very intellectual, like, it is the opposite of Bakara Wintner's What the Fuck is Tarot, because this is like just the most academic, thorough approach to tarot ever by Benabel Wen, and I really, really appreciate it. It has, talk about indexes. This index is everything. It is so well done. It is so fucking thorough. Like, anything I want to fucking look up, I can find in that index, and that is rare. It is rare. I'm gonna set it down because it's really heavy. It is rare to find an approach to tarot that is this well-rounded and thorough. Has anyone read this book cover to cover? Maybe not, but it is it's an easy reference guide simply because of how thorough the index is. And you get all of these, like, appendixes in the back that have all these charts, and it's just such a thorough, and visually, like, these are the court cards, and you get, like, the symbols of the elements, and it just, like, she also, like, she breaks down the information, like, in different ways throughout the book. So, like, depending on what kind of learner you are, you can see the same information in different places in the book in different presented in slightly different ways. I just, like, this is probably, if I was to keep only one tarot book, this might be the one, because it would be the one that's most likely to have any information I might want. Next, I'm going to spread these out real quick because I'm about to get to the point on my video where I can't. These are all like tarot workbooks. I'm going to have to edit the video essentially if I talk for more than 2 minutes. So I'm going to rush through these last 3 books because they're all tarot workbooks. I got lucky that these were used and they were given to me by my mom. They had belonged to a family friend that had passed away, and I don't think she had ever used them, so I've just like fully filled out, especially Tarot for Yourself. I would recommend, if you are looking to just like buy a couple of tarot books for yourself, just to get you started on tarot. I actually haven't really read this one yet, but I've gone through that entire workbook. I've gone through this entire workbook. Both of them are great, so whichever one you're more drawn to, I would say if you're starting out with tarot, pick a workbook because as one of your books for learning tarot, because you're going to, I think this in conjunction with like a really thorough guidebook to a deck that you really like would be enough for you to learn tarot, because this encourages you to grow your intuition with tarot and find your own meanings for things. A workbook does. And then, like, you know, that coupled with a really great guidebook, like one of the Llewellyn decks or something. Most of those have really great guidebooks like Shadowscapes or Darkwood or Tarot of Vampires. And then, so I'm going to go over my time. That's fine. I'm going to have to edit this video now, so let's just get into it. For some reason with my phone, if I go, it's exactly 46 minutes and 44 seconds. If I go over that, it splits it off into a second video. So I have to edit clips together, and I don't like editing, you guys, but it's too late now. So let's just go ahead and put together a package. Let's just do that. For the beginner witch out there, let's say you are into tarot and you're into, just based on my very modest witchy collection, I just took you through all of my like spiritual mythology, witchcraft, tarot, and astrology books. I just took you through all of them in less than 45 minutes. So I don't have that big of a collection, so this is by no means a thorough guide, but I'm just going to set aside for you guys. If you're a beginner witch and you want to know about witchcraft and tarot, and you are on a budget and you only want to buy like 3 to 5 books, I'm going to give you a great, really you could choose between any of these 3 most likely. Like this one's a little less of a workbook. It does have activities in it, but like I would choose between these 2. Like pick a tarot workbook if you want to get into tarot. And there's many out there, I'm sure, but both of these are the ones that I have. Tarot 101 by Kim Huggins and Tarot for Yourself by Mary Kay Greer are 2 excellent workbooks, because you can just go through it and you can fill out all your own information about, and it encourages you to stop and find your own meanings for things. So I would definitely recommend one of these. I wrote in Tarot for Yourself way more. This one's more of like you use in conjunction with a journal, whereas with Tarot for Yourself, I mean, you can use that in conjunction with a journal too, but that one more encourages you within the text itself to just fill it out yourself. So if you're a person that likes to write in books, get Tarot for Yourself. So I'm just going to go ahead and just like lay out like beginner divination witchcraft book set. How about that? I'm going to go with Tarot Bible, because as the, like, you're going to need a tarot workbook and a tarot resource. So I'm going to go with Tarot Bible as the tarot resource, because holistic tarot might be like a little too much at first. It's a little bit too academic of an approach. It won't work for everyone. Holistic tarot won't work for everyone. But Tarot Bible is a good overview of tarot, that it's a good jumping off point. You can get all of the information that you need card by card to the RWS tarot system with Tarot Bible, and you can go further into it from there, you know? And again, let's see. Okay, I'm going to pause so you guys don't have to hear me trying to sort through this pile right now. Okay, I'm going to round this out with only 3 books. So this is just like the hypothetical person that could be watching this video that wants a good overview on being a witch with a focus on divination. With a focus on tarot as divination, I guess I should say, because there's many different forms of divination. So you need yourself a workbook. Pick your favorite. Here's tarot for yourself. You're going to need an overall great introduction to tarot that's not too serious like holistic tarot. So I recommend Tarot Bible by Sarah Bartlett. And then you're going to need a guide to witchcraft. So since I only have 2 witchcraft books, go with Complete Idiot's Guide to Wiccan Witchcraft. Do not be dissuaded. This is just general advice. Sorry, just knocked my headphones on the floor. Do not be dissuaded by titles such as Complete Idiot's Guide or there's probably a Witchcraft for Dummies book and it's probably just as good as this. Don't be dissuaded by those kinds of titles. Don't be dissuaded by, you know what I really like to do? Like if I'm looking for like a biography on a historical figure that I don't know much about, I always go to the children's section at the library because you can find information given to you distilled in a very easy to digest way. You don't have to read a whole 500-page biography of a historical figure that you're not already obsessed with. Like only people that are obsessed with a thing are going to do that, you know? I think these 3 books, and these 3 books can all be found on Amazon for cheap or from your local witchy store. You can find these things, and you're maybe not a Complete Idiot's Guide to Wiccan Witchcraft. Like some witchy stores might think that that's, I don't know, too trashy for them or something. I could see that, but you can find these books easily. I bet you could get all 3 of these books together for less than $30. Probably. I bet you could. You know what? I should just take a second and actually look that up for you guys to see current prices as of December 2020 if you wanted to get these 3 books. Okay, I lied. My computer is, I need a new display for my computer. It doesn't always work, and right now it's just kind of nope, you don't get to see what's on your computer. No screen for you. So never mind. But I'm about 90% sure that you could get all 3 of these books for less than $25, and that in conjunction with, pick your own favorite tarot deck. Probably Tarot Bible, actually, one disclaimer, wouldn't be the best option for an overall tarot resource if you're not going with an RWS style deck. So if you know that you're going for, if your first deck that you want to get into is a Thoth deck, or some other system that doesn't really resemble the RWS, this book may not be the best resource for you. It doesn't heavily go into the symbolism, but it shows images from a Rider-Waite-Smith knockoff. So it's going off of the interpretations from a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So most decks are Rider-Waite-Smith based though, so most likely. But if you're going for a Marseille style deck as your first deck or a Thoth deck for your first deck, Tarot Bible might not be the right resource for you. But anyway, I don't know why it suddenly distilled into, if you're starting out with tarot and witchcraft, here's what you go for. But there it is. Sorry for this weird rambly tour of my books. Hopefully that was somewhat entertaining for you. These are all of my mystical books. Let me know in the comments below what you think is missing from my collection, because I'm really in a book acquisition phase right now. And I'm getting rid of a bunch too. I got Queen of Swords as my card for the month, so that makes sense. I'm just sending books out and bringing them in every day right now, and it's a lot of fun to just really curate my book collection a little bit better. So anyway, I hope you guys are well. I'm gonna go. I think something just got delivered on my porch. So possibly some books that I've ordered in the last couple of weeks just arrived. So I'm gonna go check the porch, and I will see you guys in the next video.